I have a word. And it comes from Matthew chapter 9, verse 20. And it says, just then a woman who had been subject to a bleeding for 12 years came up behind him and touched the hem of his cloak. The other versions it says his garment. She said to herself, if I only touch his cloak, I will be healed. You see, she already knew if I just touch his cloak, I'm going to be healed. And we got to believe that. You got to believe that when you're going through something and you're feeling down and you're feeling worn out and just like she said if I can just touch just the hem of his garment, if I could just touch his cloak, I'm going to be made well. That was her faith. Her faith told her. She told herself, she spoke to herself, if only, because she didn't say she said it out loud. It says, here's what it says. It says, just then a woman who had came, who had been, had been subject to bleeding for 12 years came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak. And it says, she said to herself, you got to speak to yourself. She said to herself, and here's what she said. I'm getting excited, y'all. She said, if I only touch his cloak, I will be healed. So she said to herself, and a lot of times you got to speak to yourself. You know, a lot of times you want to hear a word. This is a word, that rhema word. You want to hear that word. But after you heard the word, see, sometimes you hear the word and then you're going about your way and about your business and you're doing what, and you're going on about your day and you forget about the word, the promise that God gave you. He might have gave you that promise last week or he might have gave it to you. You got to speak it to yourself. You got to say it to yourself. She said to herself, if only I could touch his garment, if only I could touch just the edge of his cloak, just a little bit, if only I could just touch just a little bit of Jesus. She said that I'll be made. I will be healed. I will be made well. I will be healed in the name of Jesus. And then it says, Jesus turned and saw her. And it says, take heart, daughter. He said, your faith has healed you, see. Because she believed. She spoke to herself and she believed. See, Jesus knows what we already thinking. He already knows what we're thinking and everything else. Do you have faith? Do you believe that Jesus can heal you? Do you believe that Jesus can heal you? She said, if I could just look. She didn't say I need to touch the whole all I need to touch the whole all of Jesus. She said, if only I could just touch just the edge, just a little. I just need a little bit of Jesus, and I'm gonna be. She knew that God had that much power. Jesus had that power, so that only she could just touch just the hem of it. If I could just the edge of it, if I could just touch just a little bit of it, I know that God can heal me. I know that Jesus can heal me. But she also spoke it to herself. Remember, God said, the word says to meditate. So that word was already on the inside of her. God tells us to study the word, but it was already on the inside of her. So she already knew, if I can just touch just the hem of him, if I could just touch just a little bit of him, I'm going to be made well. I'm going to be made well. That's what she said. Jesus turned and saw her. Take heart, daughter. He said, your faith has healed you. And the woman was healed from that moment. Just like that. See, a lot of us is just sitting here waiting. We waiting on our healing. We waiting on our healing. We waiting for God to give us that breakthrough. We waiting for some situation to change. I'm speaking to someone right now. And you've been going through some situations. And you're crying out and you're saying, Lord, I can't take this no more. I'm tired of this situation. You're crying out to God. But God is just saying, I've given you what you need. I've given you what you need. And now you got to press in. You got to press in. You got to tell yourself, if only I could just touch just the hem of his garment. If only I could just remember that word that God told me. If only I could just believe. And you already know. Just say it. She said it to herself. Believe. All God is asking for you to do right now is just to believe. And if you got faith the size of a mustard seed, that situation is going to change for you if you just believe. Don't just sit back and allow the enemy to talk to you. Begin to tell Satan to get behind me. When he tried to talk to Jesus in the wilderness, he said, get behind me. You got to tell Satan where to get off at. And you got to believe. You got to know that that situation is going to change. Don't go by the natural realm. Go by the spiritual one. See, we're foreigners here. This is not our home. So everything we operate in, we got to operate in the spiritual realm. We can't operate right in natural. We operate in the natural, you're going to mess up. You got to operate in the spiritual realm. So you got to say to yourself this, that word that God gave me, if only, like she pressed in, and look, she said, just let me just touch this a little bit, just a little bit of it, just the edge of it, and I'm going to be made well. I don't even need a whole lot of it. I just needed just a little bit. And she pressed through the crowd. She pressed through the crowd. You got to fight for your healing. You got to fight for your breakthrough. You got to fight for it. But your faith has also got to take root. You got to have faith to know that he can do it. You got to have faith to know that it will work. You got to have faith, but you can't look at your circumstances. You looking at the natural realm. You looking at, at different things. You got to understand and believe what's that word God gave you. If he said he's going to do it, he's going to do it. So stand on his word and begin to rejoice. And that's a part of it. It's just to begin to rejoice. Begin to rejoice and say, Lord, I know you're going to do this for me. You already done told me you're going to do it for me. So I know that you are. Believe. I pray that this word helps you. God bless you. Be blessed.